So let's talk about something that's at the absolute heart of the AI revolution. As all these new generative models get more and more powerful, how do we actually know if they're getting any better? It turns out that's a really critical and surprisingly tricky problem to solve.
I mean, really think about it. It feels like every week there's a new model, and they all claim to be the next big thing. But how can we be sure? How do you put a number on something like creativity or genuine understanding or just helpfulness? This isn't just some academic thought exercise. The answer to this question literally shapes where all of AI is headed.
And this is where it gets a little awkward, because here's the uncomfortable truth our source material points to. The very foundation we've been using to measure AI, well, it's cracked. We've been leaning on tools that might actually be pointing us in the wrong direction, creating this thing that some researchers call metric theater. It looks like serious evaluation, but it's all for show. This analogy from Ayub Nania just nails it, right? It's like using a thermometer to measure distance. You'll get a very precise number, but that number is completely meaningless for the task at hand. So what are these flawed tools, and how in the world did they become so popular? All right, so let's start with what I'm going to call the automated yardstick. For a long time, the main way to evaluate AI was with these simple, super fast metrics that a machine could just run by itself. So let me introduce you to the BLEU score. This thing was born way back in 2002, originally for machine translation. And the logic behind it is pretty simple. You have a perfect human translation, right? So if the AI's translation uses a lot of the same words and phrases, it's probably pretty good. It's all about precision. How many of the AI's words match the gold standard text? And this slide, wow, this just perfectly shows BLEU's biggest, most fatal flaw. Look at the paraphrase. The feline rested on the rug. That's a great sentence. It shows the AI understands the meaning, but it gets a low BLEU score because the words don't match exactly. Meanwhile, the second one, cat the mat sat on, is complete gibberish, but it gets a high score because all the right words are there. It rewards matching words over making sense. Then you've got its close cousin, the ROUGE score. This one is often used for summarization tasks. It's kind of the same idea as BLEU, but flipped. Instead of precision, it focuses on recall. Basically, how many of the important words from the original text made it into the AI's summary. Okay, so you're probably thinking, if these things are so broken, why on earth is everybody using them? And the answer is pretty straightforward. They're practical. They are incredibly fast, they're cheap, and you can run them on gigantic data sets. Plus, you get the exact same score every single time. For a field moving at the speed of light, that convenience was just too tempting to ignore. But it came with a huge price. And that brings us to what I call the illusion of a score. These automated metrics spit out these clean, exact numbers. It gives you this false confidence, this feeling of scientific proof, while completely, totally missing the point. You know, there's this classic idea called Goodhart's law, and it fits perfectly here. It basically says that the moment a measure becomes the main goal, it stops being a good measure. As soon as AI developers started tweaking their models just to get a higher BLEU score, the score itself became meaningless. The models just got really good at gaming the test. Let me ask you this. If you ask an AI to explain a super complex topic to a 5-year-old, what kind of answer is actually better? You know, the dry, boring textbook definition, or a creative, fun analogy that a kid can actually understand? Okay, now look at this example. It is just perfect. Response A is the textbook answer. It's got all the correct keywords, so it gets a high BLEU score. But response B, the one about teaching a pet robot, that's the one any human would pick. It's creative, it's helpful, it shows real understanding, and the metric punishes it for that. That's the problem in a nutshell. And it's not just creativity. The blind spots are huge. These metrics have no idea what sarcasm or humor is. They can't tell if a poem is beautiful. They can't measure safety, or even if an answer makes logical sense. And maybe the scariest one of all, they are terrible at checking for facts. I mean, this right here, this is the ultimate nightmare scenario for these metrics. An AI can spit out, the Eiffel Tower is in Rome, with flawless grammar. The words are common, the structure is perfect. An automated metric might not see a single thing wrong with it, but any person, in a split second, knows it's completely false. We clearly need a better judge. So, this is where we bring the humans back in. The solution to all these blind spots is the one thing machines don't have: the nuance, the context, and just the plain common sense of a human being. This table really lays out the trade-offs perfectly, doesn't it? Automation gives you that incredible speed and consistency. It's great for what we call regression checks, like did a small code update accidentally break something basic? But human evaluation? That's where you get nuance and real judgment. It's the only way to truly check for quality, for safety, and for whether a response is actually helpful. So what does human evaluation actually look like? Well, it's not just random opinions. It's a really structured process where trained human reviewers judge the AI's answers based on a very clear set of rules, or a rubric. They're not just saying good or bad. They're scoring things like accuracy, tone, and safety. And there are a few common ways they do this. Sometimes it's a simple head-to-head, a pairwise comparison. You just show a person two AI responses and ask, which one's better? Other times you use a Likert scale, like rate this from 1 to 5 on helpfulness. And for the really deep dives, you have detailed rubric scoring, where they check off a whole list of criteria. Okay, so does this mean we just throw out all the automated metrics? Not at all. The real magic, the smartest way forward, isn't about choosing the human or the machine. It's about building a system that uses both. Here's the big takeaway, the most important point. You have to use each tool for what it's good at. Think of your automated metrics like smoke detectors. They're always on, cheap, and they'll alert you fast if something might be wrong. Human evaluation, on the other hand, is like the expert inspector you call in to figure out what's really going on and decide what to do. So in the real world, this hybrid approach looks something like this. 1, you automate the basic checks on every single update. 2, you pick out a sample of really important or high-risk outputs for humans to look at. 3, every so often you do a big, deep dive human evaluation to really understand your model's quality. And 4, this one is key, when the machine and the human disagree, that's not noise, that's a signal. That's where you need to dig in and investigate. And looking down the road, things get even more interesting. The line between these two approaches is starting to blur. There are new methods out there like GEval that actually use a super powerful model like GPT-4 to grade the answers from other models. The dream here is to get the scale of automation, but with the nuance to judgment of a human. And that really brings us to the final big thought here. This whole story of AI evaluation is a cat and mouse game. We create a test, the AI learns how to beat it, so we have to go back and create a better test. And that forces us to ask an even deeper question. As AI keeps getting smarter, maybe it's not just our tests that need to evolve. Maybe it's our entire definition of what makes an AI response good in the first place. What are we going to value tomorrow? That's the real question we need to keep asking.